Oh, howdy all, grab yourself a drink. It is time for some PathOfExile 2 discussion. Today, this is going to be a really short video, but I wanted to summarize everything we know about the class tier list for PathOfExile 2 for early access's beginning. And that is, we know nothing. We have no idea about which of these classes are going to be the strongest, which ascendancies and builds are going to dominate in the early days or in the late days of early access. So, in S tier, we have the class that just looks the most exciting to you. The class Power Fantasy calls to you in a way that none of the others do. In A tier, we have the one that you just pick second. Maybe you think that the most exciting of the ascendancies is the Infernalist, but you think that the Deadeye is pretty close behind. Well, in that case, A tier is where the Deadeye goes for you. And then we're not going to bother with B tier or C tier. We lack information in order to be able to finally grade things in that way. We're just going to have a D tier, which is every single class that just doesn't have a Power Fantasy that calls to you. I know a bunch of people have been really excited to play a Chronomancer. They're not wrong to be excited by it, but for me personally, it hasn't done much for me, the class Power Fantasy, yet. Maybe when I learn more about it, that might change, but for that reason, for me personally, the Chronomancer, down in D tier. That doesn't mean you're wrong if you want to play it, doesn't mean that it might not end up being one of the strongest characters around. How long is it going to take for us to have some hard information on which ascendancies are best and which ascendancies aren't, so that we can put out a really honest tier list for builds in PathOfExile 2? I think there'll be a bunch of things changing all the time during early access, but I feel like by day 3 or 4, we'll start to get a sense as to what are the best early performers. We'll start seeing that maybe only 7% of the player base have elected to play the Chronomancer, but Chronomancers make up 13% of the section of the player base that are level 88 and above. Or alternately, maybe we'll start seeing statistics that point to Titans simply underperforming against everything else. So I'll have some preliminary information about 3 to 4 days after the game goes into early access. Then we'll get much more information when the game's been out for about 2 weeks. So if you're thinking of having a Christmas reroll, then you'll probably be able to reroll into a meta build, one that's been proven, one that's been able to take down a whole bunch of the endgame, more aspirational content. Alternately, if you're just having fun with your first character, then keep playing the first character. This is the start of a new game. The most important thing is to have fun. Optimizing can come later. I'm going to leave it there. May your Varlorbs have interesting results.